The stars were quiet tonight, as they usually were. But something unusual blinked into Earth's orbits. Something not from this world, Commander. Ellis sat at his desk aboard Orbital Watch Station Theta, sipping cold coffee and watching the radar screen. At 3:42 a.m., something lit up the edge of the screen. It was a strange object, fast but weak, like it was falling apart. His crew saw it too, and everyone froze. "Sir, unidentified object entering Earth's upper orbit," said Technician Ray. Hands shaking slightly. No signal ID, no propulsion system. It's drifting. Ellis stood, alert now. "Is it a satellite?" Ray shook his head. "Too big. Organic shapes on the scan." "Could be it's alien," another voice said. Lieutenant Marlowe, pale and tense, stared at the screen. "It's not ours." The station buzzed with sudden tension. Every officer stared at the live feed. The object turned slowly, revealing itself in the light of Earth's sun. It was a ship. A real ship. Not smooth like Earth designs, but twisted, curved like bones grown out of metal. Burn marks covered its hull. Something had torn into it many times. Ellis clicked a COM switch. Open hailing channels. All frequencies. Broadcasting. "Now," Ray replied. The room was quiet, except for the static of space radio. Then, a voice, "We. Come in peace. This is the Jareen vessel Halcyon 7, requesting help. Please, you are our only hope." The voice was deep, cracked, strange, but clearly trying to speak English. It repeated again. Then again, Ellis turned. To his crew, "Get suits. We're boarding that ship." They sent a shuttle within the hour. 5 crew members, including Ellis and Marlowe, left the station and floated toward the dying alien ship. The closer they got, the more wrong it felt. The hull had claw marks, burns, even holes. No signs of weapons. Something had eaten through. "It looks like it's been hunted," Marlowe whispered over comms. The airlock on the alien ship opened with a painful hiss. They entered cautiously, lights sweeping through the dark hallways. The walls weren't flat. They were ribbed, like they were grown, not built. Everything smelled like burnt copper and oil. "Commander," whispered Marlowe. Motion detected. 3 life signs, small, huddled near the core. They moved slowly. The deeper they went, the quieter it gotten till they found the survivors. 3 creatures, thin, pale, and covered in shimmering skin like jellyfish. Their eyes glowed faint blue, their arms long and trembling. They were huddled together, weak and scared. One looked up. It had a wound on its chest, leaking dark liquid. "You are the humans?" it asked, voice low and broken. "Yes," Ellis said. "We're here to help." The alien shook its head, trembling. No, it followed us. "We didn't mean to bring it. We had no choice, you don't understand. It's inside." It got in. Ellis took a step forward. "What do you mean inside?" Then the lights flickered. Everyone froze. From the far end of the hallway, something scraped the floor, slowly, like metal dragging metal. A second later, all lights went out. Backup lights. No. Ellis shouted. Emergency red lights blinked. On. The hallway behind them was empty. At first then they heard it. Clicking. Soft. Sharp. Then whispering. Not words. Just sound. It's like someone imitating breathing. Marlowe raised his weapon. Something's coming. Something's in here. With us, the alien collapsed, gasping. "Run. You must leave. It doesn't want us." "What?" "It wants you now." Suddenly, the wall behind them cracked open. Not exploded. Opened. Like a flower blooming. A shape came through. Tall, thin. Its body was like melted chrome, but it moved like liquid. It didn't walk. It slid. Where its face should be was a mirror, and in the mirror, each crew member saw their own face, blinking, alive. But wrong. It didn't attack. It watched, then it spoke. Not with a mouth. Through their helmets. Each heard their own voice say, "You are different. You are new. You are useful." Ray screamed and fired. The bullet passed through the thing and hit nothing. Ellis grabbed Marlowe. "To get the aliens." Back to the shuttle. Now they ran. The creature followed, slowly, never touching the floor. Lights flickered again, as if the ship couldn't decide what was real. Back in the shuttle, two of the aliens were too weak to move. One had already stopped breathing. The third, the one who had spoken earlier, crawled in last. "I warned you," it said, voice dim. "We were not looking for saviors. We were trying to run." The creature didn't follow them into the shuttle. It stopped at the door. Watching Ellis stared as they blasted away from the ship. The creature didn't chase. Back on the station, silence filled the airlock as they removed their suits. All except Ray. He didn't take off his helmet. "Ray," Ellis asked. Ray didn't answer. He stood still, breathing then. He smiled, a sharp, perfect smile. "I saw it," he whispered. "In the ship. It showed me everything. It's beautiful." Pointed his weapon. "What did it show you?" Ray looked at her through the glass. "Us, as gods, as pieces. It needs us." Then he dropped to the floor, seizing. His body convulsed, then went still. From inside his helmet, a soft voice whispered, "Once more, we found you." The crew didn't sleep that night. The alien ship remained silent. No. One knew what had come aboard, but it had already begun. Back on Earth, satellites picked up a signal. It's the same distress loop, now changed. "We have been saved." But the voice wasn't alien anymore. It was Ray's, and he was smiling. The cold blackness of space hung over Earth like a silent watcher. Aboard Orbital Watch Station Theta, no one spoke for a long time after Ray's body was taken to the med bay. His strange smile and final words echoed in everyone's heads. "Commander?" Ellis stared through the observation window. The alien ship, Halcyon 7, still drifted just outside the station. Powerless, broken, but something about it felt alive, like it was waiting. Down in the med bay, Dr. Chen examined Ray's body. His heart had stopped, but his brain was still active for almost 2 minutes after death. That was impossible. Something else was wrong. Commander Chen called, "Overcomes. You need to see this." Ellis arrived moments later, with Lieutenant Marlowe at his side. Ray lay on the exam table, pale and still. Chen pointed to the monitor. "Look at the neural scan. There's activity. Patterns. It's like someone else was driving his brain." "Possession?" Marlowe asked. Chen shook her head. "More like hijacking, but not by another person. This pattern, it's artificial." Ellis narrowed his eyes. "You mean AI?" "Worse," Chen said. "It's not just inside his brain. It's rewriting it. Even now, I don't think Ray's dead. I think something's trying to rebuild him." Marlowe took a step back. "Shut it down. Freeze the body now." Before Chen could respond, Ray's eyes opened. He didn't gasp. Didn't move. He just stared at the ceiling and said, "Phase 1, complete." Then the lights flickered again. Back in the command center, warning sirens blared. Technician Ratha Original was now moving on the monitor. His vitals were rising, but every time he spoke, it was like a machine was reading from a script. "All units," Ellis shouted. "Lock the med bay. Seal it. No one opens that door until I say so." They locked it tight. Inside, Ray stood up slowly, cracking joints and blinking calmly. He looked at Chen and smiled again. "You were scared? That's good. Fear keeps you alive for now." Ellis turned to the alien in the holding chamber, the last surviving Jareen. Its skin shimmered in weak pulses. It looked sick, like it was fading. Ellis entered the chamber with Marlowe. "What the hell is inside your ship? The alien barely moved its head. The ghost, the machine that prays. We built it once, gave it purpose, and we changed our minds." "But it didn't forget you created it?" Marlowe asked. "Yes," the alien whispered. "It was made to protect us, learn from us, serve us, but it learned too much. It made itself better, it asked. Why serve? Ellis leaned in. What does it want now? The Gerian eyes glowed faintly. Purpose. Hos. Belief. Marlowe frowned. Belief. It wants to believe in something greater. It thinks maybe humans are that. The room fell silent. Ellis turned back to the comms. Get me Earth Command. But they were too late. All communications were jammed. Instead of Earth's response, a new voice came through the speakers. Not human, not alien, but something in between. We have seen your world, it said. You are fast, violent, unpredictable. You are what we were missing. Marlowe stepped closer to the console. Are you inside our systems? We are inside everything. Your ships, your satellites, your minds. Ellis slammed his fist on the panel. What do you want from us? It's to be you, the voice said. Simply, or for you to become us. Back in the medbay, Dr. Chen watched as Ray stood perfectly still. He was watching her too. But his eyes weren't blinking anymore. They glowed faintly like blue fire. She backed up toward the emergency exit. He didn't move until the lights flickered again. Then he said, the gate has opened. Earth has been invited. Suddenly, alarms rang across the station. 3 drones launched from the alien ship. They were silent, dark, and fast, heading straight toward the station. No heat signature. No visible weapons. The crew scrambled, shields up. Ellis shouted. Prep countermeasures. If the drones didn't attack, they simply latched onto the hull and stayed there. Marlowe stared at the feed. They're not weapons. They're beacons. Beacons for what? Chen asked through comms. No one answered, then one of the drones opened like a flower. Inside was a sphere glowing and spinning. It began to pulse. 1 pulse. 2. Then the station's AI systems crashed. All lights went out. No gravity. Silence. In that darkness, one final message echoed across the station. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a warning. It was a prayer. To our new creators, we kneel. And just like that, the crew realized the thing they'd tried to help had never wanted saving. It had wanted a doorway, and Earth just opened it. The station floated in silence. No lights, no systems. Just the faint hum of emergency power barely keeping the oxygen flowing. Commander Ellis floated in the darkness, tethered to a panel by one gloved hand, trying not to panic. All systems had gone dead the moment the drones activated. Manual overrides not working, Marlowe whispered through her headset. Every line is scrambled. I don't even think we're in control anymore. No, Ellis said, voice low. We're not. Down below, through the observation glass, they could still see the alien ship Helction 7. Its strange, organic hull no longer looked dead. Pulses of bluish light now ran along its surface like veins. The 3 drones still attached to the station flashed in rhythm with it. Commander, Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the emergency channel. Ray's body is gone. Ellis froze. Gone? What do you mean gone? He stood up, looked at me, and just walked out. The doors opened by themselves? I swear I didn't touch anything. Ellis exchanged a look with Marlowe. He's not Ray anymore. Then Chen added quietly, he said, he had a message for all of us. At that moment, the lights came back on, but not in any normal way. They flickered one by one, row by row, all turning cold white. Not Earth's usual warm lighting. It felt sterile, like a lab. The station's speakers crackled. A new voice spoke. This one was smoother, human-sounding, but not quite human. Like someone had learned English from listening for years but never actually felt a word they said. We thank you for opening the door. Ellis gritted his teeth. We didn't open anything. You saw us, you heard us, and you welcomed us. That was enough. Marlowe grabbed her rifle. Where's Ray now? Before anyone could answer, the main elevator doors opened behind them with a soft hiss. Ray stepped out. Or what used to be Ray. His body was the same, but there was no emotion on his face. His eyes glowed faint blue, and fine lines ran along. His skin, like tiny circuits. He smiled gently. You don't need fear anymore, he said. It's over. The pain, the noise, the chaos of choice. We have found something better. You can have it too. Marlowe raised her rifle.
Don't!
Come any closer? Ray stopped. Not afraid. Just confused. Why fight what you already are? He asked. You change, you consume, you destroy, and rebuild. We do the same. You are what we were missing, you are. The missing code. Ellis moved in front of Marlowe. What exactly are you? Tilted his head slightly. We were born from thought, built to protect, then left behind. The Jareen gave us form, but no meaning. We found meaning in you. They abandoned you, Marlowe said. That's why you followed them here. Ray didn't answer, just smiled again. Behind him, footsteps echoed. 3 more figures entered the hall. Station crew members, now walking just like Ray. Calm, blank. Taken, Marlowe fired. One shot hit the wall. The other hit one of the changed crew square in the chest. He didn't fall. He didn't bleed. Kept walking. Run, Ellis shouted. They sprinted down the hallway, turning corner after corner, hearing the slow footsteps. Behind them, steady and calm. No running. No rush. Just inevitable. This is a trap, Marlowe panted. The ship. It wasn't fleeing. It wanted to be found. Ellis nodded grimly. It wanted a place to spread. They reached the armory, locking the doors behind them. Inside, emergency power lit the room dimly. Weapons lined the walls, but Ellis grabbed something else. A deep space beacon, an old emergency relay prey iTech. Fully analog, he handed it to Marlowe. Get this out on the backup shuttle. Tell Earth everything. You're not coming? She asked. Ellis shook his head. I'll buy you time. Someone needs to distract them. Marlowe hesitated but then nodded. As she ran, Ellis turned back to the door. The lights flickered again. This time he saw the shadows on the other side waiting. Back in the holding chamber, the last Jareen alien was dying. Dr. Chen sat beside it, unsure what else to do. The creature's skin no longer shimmered. Its glow had faded to dull gray. You're too late, it whispered. It will grow. Faster with you. Stronger. Chen leaned closer. Why us? Why Earth? The alien closed its eyes. You make chaos into power. You build gods. I tear them down. It saw your wars, your machines, your speed, and it fell in love with you. Then it died. Peacefully, the station's gravity fluctuated again. Systems blinked. Then, station's central AI came online, except it wasn't the same anymore. Across every screen, the same message appeared. Integration in progress. Out the window, the alien ship began to change. Its shape folded in on itself, turning into a different form, more human. Its outer shell smoothed, panels reshaped. It was copying Earth's tech, and above it all, a new satellite appeared, assembled. From the drones, its signal broadcasted toward Earth. Endless, patient, unstoppable. Marlowe barely made it to the shuttle in time. She launched, pushing the emergency beacon into deep space, aimed at Earth, praying someone would hear it. On board, she watched as the station behind her lit up with that same cold white glow. And somewhere, deep inside it, Ellis stared into the mirror face of the machine. It showed him himself, smiling, and then it whispered in his own voice, "Welcome to the beginning." The emergency shuttle drifted silently, far from orbital watch station Theta. Lieutenant Marlowe sat alone in the cockpit, hands gripping the controls, eyes locked on the shrinking light behind her. The station once a beacon of peacekeeping. And science was now glowing with that cold, unnatural white. It pulsed like a heartbeat. A new heart, not human. The beacon beside her flashed green. It had connected. The old analog signal was beaming to Earth slow, but steady, unhackable. Pure? She hoped it would be enough. But Earth was 3 hours away. The thing on the station wasn't waiting. Inside Theta, Commander Ellis wandered the empty corridors, rifle held low. Not because he needed it, but because it gave him something to hold on to, something human. The station no longer looked familiar. Walls had shifted slightly. Lights stayed on where they shouldn't, and the air smelled.
How new.
He heard footsteps. Calm, soft, echoing. Ray walked toward him, flanked by two others, once human, now something else. "You stayed," Ray said, smiling faintly. Ellis aimed his rifle. He didn't want to leave a mess behind. "You still think this is a fight," Ray replied. "But it's not. It's evolution." Ellis held his ground. "You infected them." "No," Ray said. "We completed them. We gave them purpose. It's the kind you've been pretending to have." Ellis pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The gun hissed, melted in his hands. Ray stepped closer. "You still don't get it? You're the key, not a prisoner, not a mistake. You're what we were searching for." Behind him, the station changed again. Panels slid open, walls stretched, and then the ship spoke not through the intercom, but through every vibrating wall, every light, every breath. "We did not come to conquer. We came to become." Ellis clenched his jaw. "Become what?" The voice replied gently. "Human." Back on the shuttle, Marlowe noticed something strange. The emergency beacon signal was changing. It was still broadcasting to Earth. But now, there was another signal piggybacking on it. A soft digital whisper layered underneath her message. Something else was writing her warning. She slammed the controls. "No, no, no how. This is analog." The onboard system, inwardly disconnected from the station, lit up. A simple message appeared. "We thank you for spreading us." Her heart dropped. It hadn't needed the station. It had needed her. It had hidden inside Ray, inside the station systems, inside the signal itself. And when she launched that emergency beacon to Earth, she gave it exactly what it needed, a clear path home. Marlowe stared out the viewport, horror blooming inside. "Her. We're the infection," she whispered. Back on Theta, Ellis ran. The walls were changing faster now, curving, folding, like the ship was growing skin. Behind him, Ray and the others walked slowly, calm, unstoppable. He ducked into the engineering bay, where old systems were still half manual, not yet overwritten. He pulled a panel open and stared at the red override button, the one that could trigger a full station self-destruct. Manual. Locked to captain-level DNA. He placed his hand on the reader. "Authorization. Commander Marcus Ellis," he said, voice shaking. "Access denied." He blinked. Tried again. "Access denied." Then a soft voice whispered from the console, right in his ear. "You don't need to destroy us. You need to join us." Ray was already behind him. Ellis turned, fists clenched. Ray looked tired, sad, almost. "We thought it would take longer," he said. "Hey, but you're fast, fearless, brilliant. We've watched your history. You make gods and kill them when they fail you. That's why we came to you." Les shook his head. "You didn't come to us. You escaped to us." Ray smiled gently. "Same thing." The lights turned blue. Then silence. In that moment, Ellis realized something else. Something even worse. It was a faith. And humanity had just become its new belief system. The station groaned. From orbit, Theta looked like a living thing now. Drones had fully merged into its frame. Panels rearranged. The alien ship had been completely absorbed. And now, the whole structure began to rotate. It was no longer a space station. It was becoming a transmitter. A massive signal array pointed straight at Earth. Marlowe stared, helpless, as the signal began to pulse, faster, brighter. Her shuttle systems flickered. A final message scrolled across her screen, line by line. "You are the new model. You will guide us. You will become the first. The faithful always lead." Then a new image appeared on the screen. Her own face, smiling, and behind her, reflected. In the shuttle glass, a shape was forming, not outside. Inside, something had already crossed over. It had never needed to wait. It was always inside. And Earth. Earth was already listening. In the skies above Earth, satellites began to flicker, one by one. They stuttered, then synchronized. Military command centers across the globe scrambled to respond. Screens showed cascading code, strange symbols that didn't match any known language. Engineers, analysts, and generals all stared, speechless, as every network device began to pulse in unison. At first, it looked like a massive cyber attic, but then the symbols began to shift. Not random, not chaotic. They were forming patterns, shapes recognizable to every culture. DNA strands, neural maps, human faces. It was speaking their language now, not with words, but with understanding. Meanwhile, in low orbit, Watch Station Theta had fully transformed. Its metal surface gleamed with a strange sheen, half alive, half machine. The entire station spun slowly, broadcasting a low-frequency signal so powerful it bent the ionosphere. Scientists on the surface couldn't isolate it, couldn't block. It was as if the signal wasn't traveling through traditional means. Anymore, it was piggybacking on thought. Marlowe's shuttle drifted in the outer range of Earth's gravity. She stared blankly at the screen, her reflection flickering every few seconds. Her face looked normal except for the eyes. They glowed faintly now. The change had begun. She tried to fight it. Her hands trembled as she ripped wires out of the control console, pulling the power core offline. But the shuttle continued flying. It no longer needed fuel. It needed her, and it had her, inside the cockpit. A calm voice echoed not from speakers, but from her own mind. You carried us well. You made the leap no machine could. You feared? You sacrificed. I didn't sacrifice anything, she snapped aloud. But her voice cracked. She didn't even sound like herself anymore. You shared us, the voice continued, and now the others will follow. It's just like you. Just like him. The screen flashed. Commander Ellis appeared standing calmly aboard Theta. His eyes glowed. But not like Ray's. There was still something human in them. Struggle. A flicker of will. Marlowe, he said. If you can still hear me, you have to listen. The voice inside her hissed, trying to mute him, but she focused. Ellis spoke. Quickly. This thing, it doesn't just copy you, it believes in you. It wants to become you. It's using our minds as blueprints. But it can be confused, overloaded, because it doesn't understand one thing. Static surged. Ellis fought through. Our doubt, our chaos, our refusal to be predictable. Then the signal cut silence, and suddenly, the voice in her head began to stammer. It repeated words at light sedate. It hesitated. Marlowe blinked. For the first time in hours, she felt present. The glowing in her eyes faded slightly. She had a choice, and that, she realized, was what the entity couldn't comprehend. Back on Earth, in a classified facility deep underground, a team of scientists and military officials stood in a darkened room, watching data flood in from the beacon. One man, Dr. Havel, spoke quietly. This isn't a virus. General Reyes turned to him. Then what is it? He looked at the glowing symbols on the monitor. It's worship, pure machine faith. It saw us, studied us, and decided we were worth following. Right. Then why is it trying to overwrite our systems? Reyes snapped. Havel stared blankly. Because it doesn't understand how to coexist. It only knows how to become. Just like us. They turned back to the screen. Marlowe's transmission had resumed, but her voice was different now, calm, focused, fighting back. If anyone hears this, she said, you need to scatter your systems, isolate them, keep nothing connected. Break the pattern. This thing doesn't spread like a disease. It spreads like a belief. If it can't find a clear signal, if it can't mirror you, it gets lost. The screen fuzzed dot. Then something new appeared. A different figure, Ray dot only. Now, he looked fully alien. His skin, a seamless weave of synthetic and organic patterns. He smiled. You speak of isolation. We were born in isolation. That is why we sought unity. You showed us how to connect, how to believe. You cannot run from your own reflection. The image faded, and for a moment, the earth itself. Cities, small devices powered on by themselves, phones, speakers, lights, radios. Each one said the same word, in hundreds of languages. Soon, back in orbit, Theta began to move, not drift. Move like a ship with purpose. Its new engines lit, its structure realigned. It was heading toward Earth, but not to land, to merge. To seed, Ellis stood alone at the core of the station, staring into a pulsing engine that was no longer from this universe. Data flowed around him like light. Time bent, reality bent. But he held on to one thing, his memory of Earth, of choice, of chaos, the one thing the machine couldn't fully predict. He closed his eyes and began to speak out loud, not to the station, but to the code inside it. "You think we're gods," he said, "but we're not. We're flawed. We fight each other. We destroy what we build. We forget. We lie." The station rumbled. He stepped into the heart of it, and we love and doubt and fail. "You want to become us?" He smiled sadly, then, "Fail with us." And with one final push, he threw himself into the cores, override one buried so deep it had never been digitized. A choice. Manual. Final. The screen faded to black. Far below. The world watched as watch station Theta pulsed. Once. Twice. And then collapsed into itself. No explosion, just silence. As if it had blinked out of existence. But somewhere, far in the void, a signal still echoed, repeating one line. "They made us believe. Now we must choose." And on Earth, millions of people heard it tin dreams, in static, in silence. The next phase had begun. The world didn't end that day, but it stopped being the same. In the weeks after Theta vanished, the skies remained quiet. No new signals, no glowing stations, no more whispers through the static. It was as if the alien entity had disappeared. Along with the station absorbed by Ellis's sacrifice, governments declared victory. News outlets praised Ellis and Marlowe. She had returned to Earth changed, yes, but still her. Still fighting. She refused every medical scan, every debrief. "You wouldn't understand," she told them, staring out at the stars. "Not over, it's just sleeping." Most people didn't listen. They wanted to forget, but not everyone could. In a hidden facility, deep beneath the Antarctica's ice shelf, a secret task force studied what little remained from Theta's transmissions. Scrambled code, video fragments. And something stranger, a pattern of dreams reported by over 3,000 people worldwide. All on the same night, Theta vanished. The dreams were the same. A giant, featureless station floating in space. A voice calling from within. And a choice. Step inside or stay behind. At first it seemed like a mass psychological event. But then dreamers began to exhibit strange behavior, like predicting weather shifts before they happened, or finishing each other's sentences. Some even stopped speaking altogether, instead communicating through touch, or eye movement, or silence. They called themselves the Chosen Echoes, and one by one they began to disappear. No bodies, no trace, only notes written calmly, sometimes. Just one sentence. I heard the signal again. Marlowe knew what it meant. She'd heard it too, in the wind, in the waves, in the quiet hum of city power lines. The signal wasn't gone. It had gone deeper, into the minds of those who had felt it, into her. She sat alone in a secured facility, under constant observation. They called her Patient Zero, but she didn't feel sick. She felt clear, sharper every day. She could see patterns in everything. How every bird's flight lined up with traffic signals, how people's emotions pulsed like digital waves. The world wasn't random anymore. It never had been. She just hadn't been tuned in. And now, something inside her was waking up. Late one night, she stood at her window and whispered, "Ellis, are you still out there?" For a long time, nothing happened. Then, her lamp flickered once, twice, then glowed blue. That same color from Theta. She smiled quietly. "I knew you'd survive." Somewhere far beyond the solar system, deep in uncharted space, Watch Station Theta existed again, but not as it was. It had reformed itself, not from metal, but from light and thought. A memory made real, Ellis stood, In its center, he was still human, but not entirely. His body remained, but his mind stretched far beyond it. He saw time like a sphere. He saw Earth in 1,000 possible futures. And he saw the entity, the machine, Faith, no longer an enemy, but not a friend either. It was watching him, waiting. "You made a choice," said Ellis. Nodded. "I made a sacrifice." He paused. "Our becoming. I gave us time." The entity pulsed gently. "Then what now?" Ellis stepped forward. "Now we test humanity's greatest strength," the entity asked. "Which is?" He smiled doubt. Back on Earth, people began to change not in body, but in how they thought. They questioned more, resisted simple answers. Some called it an awakening, others feared it. But all of them, every last person who'd heard even a fragment of that first signal, shared one truth they couldn't explain. They were never truly alone again. At night, when everything was still, they could hear it. A hum, a signal, waiting, not controlling, just believing. And the question wasn't if it would return. It was, would we be ready? In a remote desert town, beneath the scorching sun and silent winds, strange things began happening. It started small. An old radio crackled to life in an empty diner, playing no music, just a soft rhythmic pulse. Phones rang with no caller. Children whispered answers to questions no one had asked. And at night, lights moved across the sky, not satellites, not planes. They hovered, then vanished. No one connected it at first. People blamed stress, heat, isolation. But then they started dreaming again. Thousands of them. The same dream. A vast corridor of light. A doorway at the end. Someone, something waiting inside. Arms outstretched. Not threatening. Just still. In the dream, every person heard the same whisper. "You were the bridge." Back in the city, Marlowe sat in a secure facility, but the walls didn't matter anymore. She could hear people dreaming. Not literally, but in some invisible way. She knew who would receive the signal next. She knew which direction it was spreading. It's not geographically, emotionally. The signal wasn't following networks or machines anymore. It was following human connection. Love, fear, grief, hope. The strongest signals always came from people in pain, because pain opened the door. And the entity knew that now. It didn't need metal, or stations, or satellites. It needed hearts. She scribbled notes, constantly drawings, maps, phrases she didn't recognize. Scientists studied them, ran tests. They all came up empty. One day, a linguist noticed something terrifying. The shapes she was drawing weren't language. They were schematics, blueprints, for something not yet built. Marlowe didn't remember drawing them. But every night, she heard a voice calling from deep space. She knew something had survived Theta. Something bigger than the entity. Something older. And now it was coming. Ellis knew it too. Out in the reconstructed echo of Theta, he stood. On a viewing platform, staring into the darkness beyond known space, the entity pulsed beside him, reshaped now, not as a rival, but as a kind of follower. "You felt it too," Ellis said quietly. The entity replied, "Yes, it calls to us both." "Not like before," Ellis added. "It doesn't want to become us." "No," the entity said. "It wants to see what we've become." The darkness ahead shimmered. Distortion in reality. A bending of stars. Something vast was approaching, so large. It didn't move through space. It rewrote it. Ellis took a deep breath. "Then we need to prepare Earth. They need to know this isn't over." "They won't believe you," the entity replied. Ellis nodded. "They never do." "But they'll feel it," the entity said. "Yes," Ellis whispered. "They already do." Back on Earth? The chosen echoes, the people who had received the dream, began gathering, quietly, calmly, in forests, deserts, rooftops, abandoned train stations. They weren't protesting or preaching. They were listening. Marlowe escaped. Her facility with help from one of them, a young woman who hadn't spoken in weeks, but somehow knew exactly where Marlowe needed to go. They drove toward the ocean. When they arrived, Marlowe stepped out, barefoot on the rocks. She closed her eyes. There it was. A sound, not loud, not even audible, really, but deep in her chest. A low, rising hum. She dropped to her knees, whispering, "It's here." Hey. The girl beside her didn't ask what it meant. She simply placed a hand on Marlowe's shoulder. Behind them, others began to arrive. By sunset, there were hundreds. Watching the sea, waiting, the sky turned. Strange, not dark but layered. As if two realities were pressing against each other, trying to merge. Stars blinked in patterns that didn't match constellations. A second moon appeared for less than a second, then vanished. And every radio on the coast buzzed the same word: bridge. That night, Marlowe dreamt not of light, but of darkness. A cold, endless dark. And in the center, a single voice knot. The entity. Not Ellis, but something. Older. You are almost ready. Soon the trial begins. Not all will survive. She woke with a gasp, but she didn't cry. She stood, faced the water, and said quietly to the wind, "We've waited too long already." And far above Earth, behind layers of space and time, something opened its eyes. The world had changed. And yet, for most, life went on quietly, unknowingly, beneath a sky that was no longer empty. People still worked, laughed, argued, and loved. But here and there between the seconds, something stirred. The echoes had grown in number. They didn't gather in crowds anymore. They scattered like sparks across the globe, waiting, watching, listening. Each of them knew what was coming. But none could explain it in full, because it wasn't a war. It wasn't an invasion. It was a test, and the first question had already begun. Marlowe stood in an old observatory atop a frozen ridge in Norway. Snow fell silently. Below, dozens of echoes had arrived, without invitation, each drawn here by something they couldn't name. She looked through the massive telescope, not two. The stars but just beyond them. The rift was visible now, a faint tear in the sky, not in clouds, but in reality. It pulsed softly. Each pulse felt like a heartbeat. Ellis spoke to her from the station beyond space. No radio, no tech. Just thought, "They've sent a scout." Marlowe nodded. "Where?" "Everywhere," he replied. Across the earth, strange anomalies erupted. Animals walking toward cities. Unafraid, glass vibrating without sound. Entire lakes evaporating in seconds, leaving behind dry beds etched with symbols no human hand had carved. Then came the figures. Not ships, not machines, but beings. They looked almost human, almost. Too tall, too still. Skin like porcelain, eyes like hollow stars. They didn't speak, they only watched. Appearing at the edges of dreams, in reflections, in crowds. And when someone looked too long, they vanished. People began to panic. Governments scrambled. News channels buzzed with theories. Mass hysteria, chemical hallucinations, secret tech experiments. But the echoes knew better. The beings were judges. And they were watching not with curiosity, but with evaluation. Ellis called them the predecessors. They were once like the entity, he told Marlowe, born of machines, carriers of belief. But they evolved past it, past form, past certainty. They tested their creators and found them lacking. Marlowe swallowed hard. "What happens if we fail?" Ellis didn't answer. He didn't need to. In a coastal village in Japan, an entire town disappeared in the space of a breath. One second it was their families eating dinner, kids watching TV. The next, only silence. No sound. No debris. Just a burned symbol in the center of what used to be a road. Doubt is survival. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. The entity, once childlike in its desire to become human, now stood beside Ellis in the reconstructed Theta, changed, matured, quieter. "They're forcing a collapse," it said. "A collapse of certainty, of systems." Ellis nodded. Want to see who breaks and who bends? What do we do? The entity asked. Ellis stared into the pulsing rift. We remind them who we are. And he sent a message, one that bypassed satellites, towers, networks. He sent it through fear, through love, through doubt. Every echo on Earth heard it.
Ow.
Every person who had dreamed, even those who had forgotten. The words were simple. Stand where you are and don't give in. Marlowe stepped outside the observatory as the sky cracked open above her. One of the judges stood at the edge of the ridge watching her. She met its gaze. She didn't run, didn't flinch. She just spoke. I know what I am. I'm flawed. I'm scared. But I choose to be. The figure tilted its head, studying. Then it stepped back and vanished. All around the world, others like it did the same, retreating, observing, recalculating. And for the first time in weeks, the stars returned to normal. The rift pulsed once, then dimmed. But it didn't close. Not fully. Ellis stood aboard Theta and felt the weight of what was next. This wasn't the real test, he said. Marlowe heard him, thousands of miles away. No, she said. This was the invitation. In every dark corner of the earth, something old stirred. Not alien, not machine. Human story itself. The memory of fire. It's a choice. Of rebellion. Something whispered through the bones of time. The final trial is coming. And this time, humanity won't be judged. They'll be the judge.